watch out, here I come, here I go, with a unorthodox flow. Whoa, all y'all don't get chose, but I still get picked like a fro. Can I really go stand on business, even if I don't have 10 toes? I like when my top let back, I like when my seat go low.
We are cool.
All right. Let's do it. Finally.
How do we start these things?
I don't know. Should we do like an intro?
Well, my name's Daniel. I'm a dog trainer from Adelaide, and my training facility is called Dog Club. And I have a dog that wants to eat me over gum nuts, and that's why we're here, essentially.
That's a good intro.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm Vic. I'm a research scientist, and I like hanging out with dogs, and that's why I'm here.
Nice. And you've been kind of part of the Dog Club journey for like, what, the last 3 years now?
Something
2
like
years?
that. I think it's going on 3 years for sure. And I haven't handled Syn very recently, but I handled her in the early days. I think I was the first person she tried to bite as well, remember?
You were actually number 3. Oh, hold on, no, that first, yeah, you would have been in the top 3.
When you brought her back and Caitlin was saying how nice she is, and then she had a look at me and had a go.
Yeah, that was one of our Wednesday nights.
Yeah. But, I mean, besides that, she and I have had mostly a good relationship.
Yeah, I don't think she's had bad relationship with anyone.
Yeah.
She's made bad choices towards people and read the room wrong in certain situations, which is probably like stem from a bit of nerve in situations. And what we're going to go on in this journey is discover about what power the nerves of the dog have to play when probably laying under drive as a false sense of security and confidence. So huge learning curve for us all. But you know, she's boarded at your house. She's run with your dogs.
Yeah, she's really good with my dogs too.
Yeah. So the thing is that the more that her problems developed, the more she fell or has fallen into management land.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously, with the severity of the outcomes of her bad choices at certain times is too much of a risk for me to risk anybody else except for myself at this time.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to be the one handler to get her through, but then we will work to make her universal.
Yeah.
Right? Because, yeah, she has had a few hiccups with people, and although little scrappy hiccups, she still caused some severe bruising and some injury to people.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we're on this journey. And I decided to make a podcast documenting the journey because, obviously, since I've been trying to sort this little puzzle out on my own, I have gone searching for information and very much warranted most of the information. Well, most people that say they have the information is behind a paywall, which, like, you can understand that. But I wanted to maybe have something in the middle where it was a free resource, that people could get a little bit more information about the problem of handler aggression, the problem of where she's going with her gum nut fixation, because the gum nuts is only a trigger. The triggers can stem in many different ways, but then even going deeper in the dog again and understanding what makes up the dog through that drive and nerve and making those bad choices. I mean, it's not isolated to her. There's going to be many more people out there that are experiencing the same problem.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a podcast yet. I'm not saying there's not one out there, but I haven't seen a podcast that actually uses a problem with the dog as a case study for us to sit down and record our conversations about what we're trying to do with the dog.
Yeah.
And then share that openly with people so that they can see the thought process that goes into the work that we do, especially with big, serious problem behaviours.
I like that.
This is not a little soft pet dog that's got into a bit of mischief by creating a bit of a reactive behaviour.
No.
Syn comes from seriously hard lines. She's very high in aggression in those lines. Like, that's what they're bred for, because there's a job to do. But she's like the $1 million puzzle.
Yeah.
Right? And I need to work out how to crack the code. And I'm going to crack the code because, to me, there's no other option. And that is the enjoying part for me, is to help decipher how to work with this behaviour now.
If you can, like, get her under control, that's just you skilling up to the next level. Like, arguably, she's probably one of the trickiest dogs you've handled.
Oh, she would be, yeah, 100%. It's my own dog, go figure.
Yeah.
Which is kind of good, because, like, imagine if she was like a client's dog.
Yes.
Who's like, I just got a dog because I wanted a dog. Like, well, what the fuck were you doing getting a Dutch Shepherd, first of all? But, if you had someone that was like, oh, I do dog training twice a week with Syn.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't going to get the skills quick enough.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a disaster. She's kind of a liability even with me.
Yes.
And that's why she's kind of under strict management at the moment. And that's why we got to the point, basically, of, with what we've done to date and what I've tried with, trying to create the motivation to make better choices and all that sort of stuff, it's almost been like a perpetual cycle back into making the wrong choice. And now this is why it's going to be back to nature's language, and this can't be about rewards. It can't be about anything else. The thing that's going to change everything for this dog is going to be the language of pressure. And what better way to master the application of pressure than with a dog that will come up the line and have a go at you? So again, why I wanted to openly show this is because we know that in the dog training world, there's such a ideological warfare going on at the moment between force-free trainers and balance trainers, and basically training is on a scale, as you would know. Like, force-free is on one end and animal abuse may be on the other, right? But there's always an element of, you have to, in everybody's training program, even if you say you're force-free, the force-free trainer will not let the dog run across the road. They will use force to stop the dog doing that.
Yeah.
So that as an ideology is like, yes, it kind of shows where you are on the scale, but there's nothing that is truly force-free in training. If someone from that ideology had Syn right now, she would be heavily medicated and, if not euthanized. I don't even think that they would have handled the dog. They wouldn't have been able to do anything with that dog.
Yes. Yeah.
Going from a balanced approach of, my kind of skill set coming from Nipopo, I've used a mixture of pressure and rewards, and I don't think so much that, I wouldn't say that it's the system that is failed, it's my ratios of the motivational principles that are out of whack, right?
As in, you are using you're not using enough pressure?
Well, I would say that the pressure is not to the level that it needs to be in effectiveness. The kind of pressure side of the training, in terms of you just have to, and you have to brings with it a little bit of a no drive state, right? Because it's going to kind of squash the drive in the dog in those situations, which we don't want that arousal. In terms of her overall program. So not even just when dealing with the gum nuts, the pressure in that moment, but her overall program is out of whack. That she is too high on the arousal motivated side, and we need to bring that way back down to a controllable level. And what is that going to do? That's going to be by mastering the pressure game. It's not to say that we are not going to be using Nipopo, because there will still always be positive reinforcement, but it's going to be a different use of positive reinforcement. It's not going to be, at least until we can see that we're out of the woods with this problem. Like, just need to put brakes on all highly arousing type scenarios for her, because that's where she goes into la la land.
Yeah.
And that's where we come back to talking about the name of the podcast. Why is it purely positive punishment? Is because, as I just said, there's an ideological warfare going on at the moment. And what better dog to show as a case study the benefits of pressure in training? Because, A, if we can pull this off, like for me, the only option is to pull it off. And I'm researching around the world to find the best trainers that I can consult with that deal with this problem, right? Not from a point of, oh, I've found someone that's got a big Facebook following. I'm looking deep and spending some decent coin to consult with people. Whether that's going to be one person, whether that's going to be multiple people, but I'm going to go in search of the answer, which then leads us to, again, understand that this is a cool idea for a podcast, because I'm not sitting here telling everyone what they should do.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here showing my vulnerability as a trainer, and there's nothing better than, as a trainer, to realize how much you don't know when you come across something you don't know how to fix.
I think as well, importantly, while you're looking for trainers to help you through this, you're looking for people who can show you results.
Oh, 100%.
Like that they've dealt with these kind of dogs before.
Yes.
So, and like it's one thing to say, try this, and we've tried a lot of things.
Yes.
Like you've tried a lot of different strategies with her. And yeah, so at this point asking for help, like someone who has not experienced this kind of dog before, I don't think they would really realize the extent of like, it's not just like, hey, don't do that, here's some food. Like, she's decided she's doing it, and when you put the pressure on, she's like, coming up the loop.
She's coming at me.
So,
like she's a serious,
and she's confident. I think.
Well, yeah, she is not bothered by much, but I think she has some nerve, which does lead her to make her reactive decisions.
Okay.
Which we need to work through, and the thing is that she's a fucking hard beast, right? So I see it in her. She's a sweet, beautiful girl at home.
Yeah.
And if we're driving in the car, man, she's like lovey-dovey. But, at the moment, with the way that she is, when I take her out here, if I go to take her out even to toilet, it's almost like we got to shut down a quadrant.
Yeah. And sweep clear the gum nuts. Has to be like clean space.
Yeah, because it's like I take this dog out right now. I'm not even sure if I ain't going to get bit, let alone someone standing out in the laneway near our facility.
Yeah.
It's like it really is a situation that this dog needs to have some stern boundaries. Again, coming back to the title of purely positive punishment, is because it's a play on the fact that there's purely positive trainers out there, which is not going to do anything in here.
Yeah.
The fact is that the punishment will be positive to the dog because it's going to change her life for the better.
Yes.
And then also the fact of our understanding and my definition of how I would use the term positive punishment from an operant point of view is anything that I'm going to put on the dog. So in my understanding and the way that I train dogs is that the positive punishment, negative reinforcement are the same, right?
I would say they're different, but yeah, go on.
Well, they're the same, but they're different, but they play on the same spectrum. Because there is a stopping, right? The pressure that I put on the dog in the moment where I add the pressure, I'm adding the pressure.
Yes.
That is a positive punishment. I'm addressing the situation, right? The dog has to remove the pressure, which is negative reinforcement.
Yes.
Right? So it's up to the dog to remove the pressure. I don't do negative reinforcement to the dog. I do positive punishment to the dog.
Okay.
Right? That's my interpretation.
I hear you.
Right? So there is people that will say, well, that's not how you do it, whatever. When the dog is doing something wrong, handler comes in and says, no, you ain't going to do that, but you're going to do this instead. The minute that the behaviour is worked on to stop, there's a positive punishment being put in place to stop that behaviour. Negative reinforcement will then compel the dog to where it needs to go.
Yeah. So if I've seen a situation that I want to address with the dog, if I'm using negative reinforcement, I would do pressure into whatever the desired behavior, as you're saying. But if I'm going to use a positive punishment, say it's leash pops, for example, say my dog's done whatever he's done, I want to do leash pops, I'll just be like, I've decided whatever he's done is bad enough, I'm going to give him 10 leash pops. I don't care if he sits or heels or whatever. This is the speeding ticket you're getting, essentially. So he can't escape that punishment. So I'm not progressing into negative reinforcement. I'm staying in a punishment event. And then once the punishment is completed, I'll revisit the scenario and see what he offers down the track. So that is how I implement punishment.
Sure.
Personally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So that's the title of purely positive punishment.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I came up with it, whatever. The thing is that everyone's going to have different definitions. Everyone's going to have, or I can't say everyone has different definitions because the definitions are the definitions, but this is a practice, right? And everyone's going to use those definitions in their own understanding of the definition, and the practice is what shows on the other end whether or not results come. Yes,
I think results is the most important thing at the end of the day. It helps if we can all speak the same language, but we don't.
Well, that's why, no one does, and that's why this is not going to be about nitpicking into operant land. We're not going to have debates with people over operant conditioning, because that is just the ideological warfare online, and it's bullshit, and it gets nowhere. This is about, we have a dog that is displaying serious problematic behaviour.
And how are we working through it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I don't care what it's called at this point. Because it was maybe 3 weeks ago, I had taken her out for a walk, and I had been doing lots of work with pressure into change of behaviour into reward, pressure into change of behaviour into reward. And one day, I think it was a Saturday, I'd finished class here, and I said, well, I'm just going to take her for a walk. And I took her went to go for a walk around the block, and she was okay. I felt good with her, and I was like, let's just fucking go. And I decided we're just going to go for a long walk, and I'm just going to see how we go and work her through it. And it was good until it wasn't. So
it was dangerous.
Well, it got to the point where she was working with me until she said, you know what, fuck it, I want the gum nuts. And then at that moment, any pressure I put on her, she was coming up at me again. The problem is, I'm now in the public realm. I was maybe 3 or 4 blocks away from the facility, and I reckon it took me half an hour to get back to the facility. Because whether or not I was in a state of walking with the dog and she was going for gum nuts, and she would put pressure on the leash by going for the gum nuts and then turning back and coming up at me, to then getting her stable in a sit just to fucking stop the commotion and manage it. And then we'd walk forward, and then she would go for a gum nut again and hit the leash and come back at me. And it's like, well, we're in danger zone here, because now if someone comes out with this dog in schizo land, this is a problem. So as much as I fucking hate lures, I think I lured that dog for 2 blocks back to my facility.
You must have been desperate.
I was desperate, right? So, but again, that was not the answer to fix the problem.
No, the problem very much is still...
That got me home safe by having food, constantly giving her food to lead her with the food,
it's
because...
good you had food on you.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
because I was still in the thought process of like, if I see her loading and then I'm like negative reinforcement and then she breaks her fixation, then I'm going to reward the break of fixation.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just a perpetual loop with her.
yeah,
She gets the food, she wants more, she goes for the gum nuts or she fixates, and it's like then the food loads are up, more aroused, gum nuts aroused, everything's arousal, and that combination definitely was not working. Not bad for a short term, but it would be about 20 minutes in where obviously she couldn't contain herself anymore.
yeah.
So therefore, that ratio of pressure to reward is not working in this situation. So yeah, and on that day, I think that was actually my 10-year anniversary. It's my 10th year anniversary, and I had to go pick something up for my wife in Marion Shopping Centre.
Yeah.
And I was just in a state of like, what am I going to do? And then I left Marion Shopping Centre and I called you and I said, maybe I think I have to put her down.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Right? And it got to the point where...
And like, it's not the worst idea because, like, obviously, you have your wife and kids at home, and you just don't want to do anything wrong.
Nah.
And it at that point as well, like when you had tried a lot of stuff, you felt like you were making progress, and she just showed you how big the problem was.
Oh yeah, it just reared up after probably months.
Yes.
Of in that management land, which now I see it, I was just managing the problem.
Yes, yeah.
Thinking I was fixing it and we were working to it, but it's like it just created a management trick.
Yes.
I tap the leash, you look at me, you get food. I tap the leash, you look at me, you get food. And then the problem reared its head even worse. So, I mean, like, yes, for most normal people, they would say maybe it's justified behaviour euthanasia, but not for me. I want to solve the problem.
Yes, yeah.
Like if it really comes down to the fact, and again, like I don't know everything, so who am I to say that I've tried everything just because I've tried everything I know?
Yes, yeah.
And this is what has spurred me on to go searching for more knowledge and information, because
Doing some education.
if I'm dealing with it, multiple people have dealt with it,
Yeah.
and there's got to be people out there that have dealt with it multiple times,
Yeah.
and that's where we're going to get the information from.
Yeah. I think when we were initially talking about euthanasia as well, I was thinking, like, you don't need that much dog anyway. But then, I don't know, listening to some different stuff that you've sent me, and like security and police and stuff, talking about, those dominant dogs being a huge asset to the workforce, and just the guts that they have to do their job very well because of that trait. They seem to think that it's very desirable to have those genetics.
Yeah, well, if you can control it. Like I said, this gum nut issue, like I'm sure the gum nut issue is a rearing of the head of some underlying problems with her in general, which will come back to her program, and like we got to fix hers, like, fixing the drug addict. The drug addict is just a symptom of underlying problems, right? So this is where it's like popping out, because she doesn't really show it in anywhere. She can be obviously reactive to people, but that handler aggression and that almost schizo fixation is only around the gum nuts.
Yeah.
So the fact is, when you're dealing with crazy in terms of crazy levels of aggression and drive in dogs, you're going to get crazy from time to time.
Yeah.
And like, this is why it's like the worst and best thing to happen to me from a dog training point of view, because like, who really wants to deal with it? Everyone would love it if they could get through life without having to deal with it.
Yeah.
But dealing with it is going to make me a 10 times better dog trainer.
Yes, yeah.
The struggle of unraveling this puzzle is like, if we can get on top of Syn, like, I mean, there's not much else out there that would be much worse.
That you know of, yeah.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, again, it comes back to like, what is she displaying? Like, handler aggression.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty much one of the worst. Like, sure, there may be other triggers to that, but when you've got a very handler hard dog or an aggressive dog that wants to say, well, at the end of the day, like, fuck you for putting the pressure on me. It'll be interesting to go through whether that does come from true dominance or whether it does still from derive from nerve. And that's what we've got to learn about and consult with these people about what they see in her and where they think that it's coming from. Because it's very hard, even like I watched the video the other day that we posted, which caused some chaos. But it was, like, it kind of doesn't look as bad on video as when you're standing there and your dog's coming up at you. And she had a muzzle on, and like that gave me a bit more confidence to just like at least nip it in the bud and put pressure on her to put her back into that sit and like control it from that point.
Yeah.
But if that was no muzzle, like another time that I had done that, she full-blown attacked me.
Yes.
And she was only 4.5 months old.
Yes.
And I'll share the pictures with everyone online, which like all my arms were bruised. Like me and Mia were walking at that time with day dogs. And I had her and Mia had a day dog. And when the gum nuts was happening and all that sort of stuff, pressure, and she just flipped her lid and came at me. And we were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, 4.5 months old, this dog.
Yeah.
So she could be that 1% of just like twisted in the head, or it could be fixable.
Yeah.
Until we go on the journey, we don't know. So, moving forward with this is like we're going to sit down and converse each Thursday night, and we're going to converse about the week that was, what we got up to with her, and if there was any progression, if it's gone backwards, we're just going to document the whole thing and share it with people.
See what happens.
Yeah, but also coming from a point of view that we truly know nothing about this.
Yes, nothing.
I always say that you should always be an idiot in a room full of geniuses, not a genius in a room full of idiots. And I think even someone commented on my post yesterday saying, it's good to see a dog trainer sharing problems with their dogs. What do you say? Great transparency.
Yeah.
And my response to that was the only thing to hide is broken ego.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing to hide here. So it will be open. So that's why, again, we go back to the fact that I haven't seen much. We've seen people work with dogs and we've seen, punishment fix things and all that sort of stuff. But for us, at least, this is going to be a much deeper journey.
Yes. Well, and how to, for other dogs, I don't know, pressure eventually can be a punisher, so you can reduce the frequency and likelihood of the problem behavior. But for her, she's finds her way out, which is up the line.
Yes.
So that just makes things, where do you go from there exactly?
Yeah, this is why, again, I think it will be taking it away from the gum nuts and fixing some underlying things first.
Yes, yeah.
But the pressure, she's learnt to escape pressure in those moments by coming up the line, like you said, reduces pressure. Coming to the handler, but also the battle hasn't been had, because again, from seeing how she was at 4.5 months, I haven't known how to set up the situation that if it is a situation where we need to battle it out, how to do that as safe as possible for her and for me.
Yes.
Because there is going to be a level of pressure that she will yield.
Yeah.
Right? We just need to get there.
Yeah.
We may have to get there through conflict.
Yes.
Or some would say you don't want to get into conflict, but at the end of the day, if I'm putting pressure on the dog and she engages in conflict with me over it, like she did at 4.5 months, the only way through that is fighting fire with fire.
Yeah.
Unless I'm told otherwise on this journey, but, logical sense.
Yeah.
I can't allow the dog to attack me.
No. And yeah, I guess like discussing safety protocols and stuff, like how are we, like you and I.
Okay. Sorry, recording stopped. Literally just stopped though, so we're going to pick up where we left off.
So I was just going to say, thinking about safety protocols, like me having a line and walking with you, so then she can't go up your line at you. We can at least block that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's where the muzzle comes in too. And like my thought process around that is like, I'm sure that's, safety first always, right? So, but then I think, well, is she, and I'm sure there would be a way around it. We've got to navigate the path, but does she then become equipment aware that I've got the muzzle on, can't nail him, oh, don't have the muzzle on today, so I'll go back. That's going to be really a road of seeing a real change in the dog before the muzzle comes off. Not like, oh, we've been for like 10 walks now and she hasn't tried to eat me and then the muzzle comes off, but she hasn't.
Yes. No,
it's going to be a real feel and a building of trust and seeing a change in her mind state.
Yep.
Even just coming out, getting ready to go for a walk, all of that sort of stuff.
I think, how old is she as well?
She's actually 1 this month. Yeah. Happy first birthday. Yeah. We got you rehab. We got you rehab for your 12-month celebration.
I think as well, like reminding ourselves that she is a young dog and she, like, her brain's not matured yet and she is changing a little bit still. So
you have brought that up in the past.
Yes.
And talk about that. And
I think having safety protocols for a couple of months until she, I find, and I know I only have limited experience compared to other trainers, but the dogs that I have seen mature, it's like they go through this experimental, when they're 12-month-old dogs, they're trying things and they just do weird stuff. And then once they have mentally matured, like past 18 months or so, they're kind of set in their ways.
Yeah.
More or less. So.
I mean, we'll see how that goes. I mean, the only problem is that this has been happening kind of from the start.
Yes. Yeah. So should we set in that way?
Well, it's not like she's coming into puberty and she's being a bitch and she's throwing some weird shit.
No.
This is kind of been, the gum nuts have been there from the start.
Yeah. Well, what was it? How, you brought her home at 12 weeks old. She had a go at me.
Yeah, well, she bit you. I took her, in the first weekend, I took her to my mate's hobby farm because we were going quad biking and I got her out to toilet and then they kind of all came to have a look at her and they're like, does she bite? I was like, nah. And then it's like, chunk, and went to take a chunk out of someone's leg. I took her to La Crema, the cafe up the road. And I was talking to one of the workers there and then he just stepped into our space and chunk, and went to snap at his leg.
Yeah.
So from there I was like, whoa, this is a different beast. From so young, she is not afraid to bite things and bite people.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a bit of a Rubik's Cube. But as we go, it doesn't seem to be successful yet.
No.
But it will be, because that's the only option here.
We will try more
everything,
things.
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's wrap it up.
Yep.
And maybe we can get into specifics next time.
Yeah. I think next week we're going to look a bit, deeper into the progression of the behaviour.
Yeah.
And, kind of where it all started and what we've been working on to try and fix it.
Yeah, let's say what we've tried so that people know.
I think that also the benefit to this and another reason why I wanted to document it is because everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, a vast majority of people that like to paint a narrative around the destructiveness of punishment in training think that it's ego-driven and the dog's not doing what I want, so I want to beat up the dog, right? And it doesn't
a session doesn't look like that.
Well, it doesn't look like that, but I want people to see how much work has gone into this dog and how much thought process we're putting into this dog to come to the conclusion that pressure is the needed key for this dog for her to live. Otherwise, it's going to be something where she gets euthanized. That's where it's at. So it's a case study. There's no better dog to be able to show that the behaviours that she's doing, like, pressure is justified. I say that pressure is justified with every dog.
Yeah.
But even the naysayers could not come and see her and say, oh, just offer her a cookie. Like that's so far off that spectrum.
Yes, yeah.
That, like, any reasonable person out there would see that, like, that's just undeniably false.
Yes, yeah.
Especially when she's in those moments.
We would, like, make an argument that for, like, a certain amount of pressure that we could put on her would then hopefully change her behavior so that she is safe to live in this world and not have to be euthanized.
Yeah, it's animal welfare.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Really it is. Because right now she's living like Hannibal Lecter, and we want her to have a life that is not like that.
Yes, yeah.
And if it comes through pressure, I'm not against it, but it will be confronting for people to see what we do. It will be confronting for people to hear about what we do and the fact that we are openly talking about punishing behaviour. Confronting is good. Discomfort is good. It means that growth comes.
You love discomfort. You just push straight into it.
Yeah, well, you got to. It's the only way.
Yeah.
It's a Nepopo lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming down.
Thanks for the chat.
Thank you.
Next time.
Ciao.